The night on Navora 7 was colder than anything a human mind could imagine. The wind did not just blow, it screamed. It dragged long shadows across the empty snowfields, as if the planet itself was alive and watching. Inside Cabin Alpha, Dr. Marcus Hale stood alone, listening to the storm push against the metal walls like a giant trying to get in. Marcus had been stuck here for 2 days. The communication tower had collapsed under heavy ice, and the backup generator was failing again. Every few minutes the lights flickered, giving short flashes of dim orange before darkness swallowed the room. Marcus tried to keep busy, checking tools, tightening bolts, resetting the heater, but the silence between each task grew louder. Outside, the temperature dropped fast, faster than it should. Even with the heater running, the cold crept into the cabin, biting the air, freezing Marcus's breath into a pale mist. He rubbed his hands together, trying to stay warm. He told himself everything would be fine. Help would come. Storms ended eventually, but a strange feeling crawled over him, like the night was holding its breath. Then it happened. A sharp, heavy thud hit the outer wall. Marcus froze. The wrench slipped from his hand and clattered loudly on the metal floor. His heartbeat rushed in his ears. Another thud followed, this time closer to the door. He stepped back, staring at the control panel as the door sensor flashed weakly. Something or someone was outside. Against every logical thought, Marcus moved to the door. He pressed his ear to the cold metal. Only the wind answered at first. But then, through the storm, he heard it. A faint cry. Soft. Weak. Not human. His hands trembled. He grabbed his flashlight and slowly pulled the door open a few inches. A rush of snow blasted inside. The storm roared like a beast released. And there she was. A figure collapsed in the snow, lying half-buried under drifting ice crystals. She was small, slender, wrapped in torn silver fabric that shimmered even in the storm. Her skin glowed faintly, like moonlight trapped under glass. Her eyes, half open, reflected fear and exhaustion. She tried to lift her hand, but her arm dropped, shaking. Marcus's breath caught. An alien. A real alien. He had seen distant photos of Zerali explorers during old research briefings, but never like this, never up close. Help, she whispered, her voice thin and soft, like it might fade at any second. Marcus knew he shouldn't. Protocol said never bring unknown life forms inside a human shelter. But the storm was too strong. Leaving her outside meant death within minutes. Human instinct won. He opened the door wider, stepped into the freezing wind, and pulled her into his arms. She was incredibly light but bitter cold. He carried her inside and shut the door hard behind them. The cabin's silence returned, except for the storm's distant roar. Marcus laid her gently near the heater. Her skin shimmered when the warm air touched it. Frost melted off her clothes and fell to the floor in tiny crystals. She opened her eyes a little more. Please, don't send me back out, she whispered. I cannot survive the night alone. Marcus swallowed. You're safe here. But who are you? What happened to you? Her lips trembled. She forced out only a few words. They are hunting me. The lights suddenly flickered again. The temperature alarm beeped sharply. Outside, something moved through the storm. Just a shadow, but too large to be human. Marcus looked at the door. The alien woman looked at him. Both understood the same truth. This night was only the beginning. The cabin felt different now. It was no longer just a cold shelter. It felt like a cage with something unknown inside. Marcus kept a safe distance from the alien woman, watching as she tried to sit up. Her breathing was uneven, her hands shaking from the cold and exhaustion. Even in her weakened state, she carried an aura he couldn't explain, quiet, gentle, yet strangely powerful. He offered her a thermal blanket. She hesitated at first, like she did not know if it was safe to touch. Then she wrapped it around herself, almost disappearing inside it. The heater hummed softly, warming the air around them. What's your name? Marcus asked. Her eyes lifted slowly. Lyra, she whispered. The name fit her, soft, melodic, almost fragile. Marcus poured hot water into a small cup and handed it to her. She stared at the rising steam with a strange sadness. This reminds me of home, she said quietly. Marcus didn't push further. He sensed a storm inside her that was far worse than the one outside. He checked her injuries. A bruise ran across her shoulder, glowing faint blue beneath the skin. Her clothes were torn as if she had run through metal or claws. When he looked closer at the strange marks, she gently pushed his hand away. "It's not from the storm," she said. "It's from them." Marcus stiffened. "Who?" Lyra looked toward the door, as if expecting it to burst open. "Hunters," she whispered. "Not creatures. Machines. They follow my kind across the stars. Anyone who helps us becomes a target too." A cold shiver ran through Marcus, not from fear, but from realization. Her arrival wasn't an accident. She wasn't lost. She was running. He stepped back toward the window and wiped away the fog. Outside, everything looked normal, just snow, darkness, and wind. But then he noticed something strange. A line of indentations in the snow, perfectly spaced, stretching toward the tree line. Not footsteps, but tracks. The wind should have erased them quickly. But these tracks were too deep, too precise, as if something heavy and disciplined had marched through the storm. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Lyra forced herself to stand. Her body swayed like she would fall again, but she caught the cabin wall for support. She looked at the same tracks and whispered, "They've already found me." A soft mechanical clicking echoed outside, so faint Marcus wasn't sure it was real. He held his breath. The clicking came again, closer this time, like metal tapping against ice. Lyra's eyes widened. "You must turn off your lights. They see heat." Marcus rushed to the power switch and killed the main lamps. Darkness swallowed the cabin. Only the small emergency light above the door glowed weakly, painting the room in pale red. They listened. The clicking grew sharper. Marcus moved to the wall, grabbed his emergency flare gun, and loaded it with shaking hands. Lyra watched him, surprised. "Why help me?" she asked softly. Marcus didn't look at her. "Because you were freezing outside. Because you needed someone." Lyra lowered her head, touched by a kindness her people rarely saw. "Humans," she whispered, "you risk your lives for strangers. My kind never understood that." A heavy metallic thud hit the roof. Then another. Something crawled across the cabin, slow and deliberate. The sound of mechanical limbs scraping against metal sent chills through Marcus's spine. Lyra backed away from the ceiling. "It's a scout," she said. "If it detects me, the others will follow." Marcus tightened his grip on the flare gun. His heartbeat hammered like it was trying to escape his chest. The roof creaked under the machine's weight. And then, the sound stopped. Silence. The storm outside hushed for a moment, as if the planet itself was listening. Marcus glanced at Lyra. She nodded slowly. The threat wasn't gone. It was just waiting. The silence after the creature stopped moving was worse than the sound itself. Marcus stood frozen, staring up at the metal ceiling as though he could see through it. Lyra pressed her back against the wall, her breathing shallow, her glowing eyes fixed on the roof. "What do they want from you?" Marcus whispered. Lyra shook her head slowly. "Not want destroy. They were built long ago to wipe out my people. When our world fell, the machines continued their mission. They hunt us across systems. They never stop. They never sleep." Marcus felt a knot tighten inside him. "And now they're here." "Yes," she said quietly. "Because of me." The wind roared outside again, pushing snow against the cabin walls. But beneath the storm, a different sound grew, a distant hum, too steady to be natural, too precise to be the wind. Marcus moved to the window and wiped away the frost. At first, the night looked empty. Then he saw them. 3 faint red lights in the snow. Not lights, eyes. Moving. Watching. They stood far away, but not far enough. Why didn't they attack earlier? Marcus whispered. Lyra closed her eyes. Scouts observe first. They study their targets. They do not rush. She swallowed hard. If they decide you are a threat, they eliminate you. A cold wave passed through Marcus. What about the message you left earlier, your distress signal? Lyra looked away. It was not a signal for rescue. Her voice trembled. It was a warning to my people. To tell them not to come here. Why? Marcus asked. Because the hunters are too close. If they find me, they'll track the message. And then they'll find my people again. Marcus stared at her. He realized this was bigger than one crash, one storm, or one alien woman. She was carrying guilt, responsibility, and fear far heavier than the snow outside. The red eyes outside vanished suddenly. Marcus stepped back. Where did they go? Lyra took a sharp breath. They're repositioning. A loud metal clang echoed from the far side of the cabin. Marcus grabbed his flashlight, but Lyra stopped him. No lights. No heat. They detect energy. The heater flickered, then went out. The cabin dropped into cold darkness. Marcus hissed in surprise. What happened? They disrupted the power line, Lyra whispered. They're cutting your systems, one by one. Suddenly, the emergency alarm beeped, a weak, dying sound. Marcus felt the temperature drop fast. Lyra's skin dimmed, her inner glow fading. She hugged the blanket tighter. If the heat dies completely, we won't last long, Marcus said. Lyra looked at him with a strange mix of fear and admiration. You humans, you worry for others even when you're in danger. My people would not understand that. Marcus ignored the comment and crawled to the power panel. His fingers moved through the cables in the dark. I can reconnect this, maybe give us an hour of heat. But I need light. Lyra hesitated. If I release some of my energy, it might glow enough to help you. But they will sense it. He turned toward her. Then don't. I'll work blind. No, she whispered. You saved me. Now I save you. She lifted her hand. A soft blue light bloomed from her palm, filling the room with a glow that felt almost warm. For the first time, Marcus saw her clearly, her delicate skin, her silver hair, the small scars across her arms. She looked fragile, but brave. Marcus worked quickly, reconnecting wires with shaking hands. Almost there. Suddenly. Thud, thud, thud. Heavy footsteps circled the cabin. Not cautious anymore. Aggressive. The machines were done studying. They were preparing to strike. Lyra extinguished her glow instantly. Darkness swallowed them again. Marcus whispered, Lyra, what do they do when they start attacking? She stared at the door, her voice barely a breath. They do not knock. They break everything. The first blow shook the entire cabin. Dust fell from the ceiling. Metal groaned like it was being bent by invisible hands. Marcus grabbed the wall to keep his balance while Lyra's eyes widened in raw terror. They've called in a breacher unit, she whispered. We cannot stay here. Another strike. Stronger. The cabin door dented inward. Lines of glowing red light crawled along the edges of the metal, scanning, measuring, preparing to rip it open. Marcus threw on his heavy jacket and grabbed his emergency pack. Where do we go? Lyra pointed toward the distant mountains barely visible through the storm. There is an old relay bunker buried in the ice. My people used it long ago. If we reach it, we can block their tracking signal. Marcus didn't hesitate. Humans didn't wait for perfect plans. They moved. He grabbed her hand. Her skin was colder than the snow outside. Stay close. Don't fall behind. Lyra nodded weakly. I will try. The door behind them dented deeper, metal cracking like thin glass. No more time. Marcus kicked the rear hatch open. The storm punched them instantly, freezing air burning their lungs. Snow whipped around like shards of glass. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Go! Marcus yelled over the wind. They ran. Their boots sank into deep snow. The ground shifted beneath them. Lyra stumbled, her energy still weak. Marcus caught her before she fell. She wasn't heavy, but the storm made every step feel like running through water. Behind them, the cabin door exploded outward. A machine crawled out of the wreckage. Tall, metallic, spider-like, with long jointed limbs and a single red glowing eye. The storm made it flicker like a burning ember. Lyra looked back and gasped. A Hunter-class sentinel. Marcus didn't look back. Save your breath. Just run. The sentinel let out a sound that was not a roar, more like grinding metal mixed with a predator's hiss. Then it charged forward, its limbs stabbing into the snow with terrifying speed. Marcus dragged Lyra across the frozen plain. The wind pushed against them, threatening to knock them down. Ice cracked under their feet. We won't outrun it. Lyra cried. Marcus gritted his teeth. We don't have to outrun it. We just need to outthink it. Humans. Always thinking. Always improvising. Lightning flashed in Marcus's memory. He saw the steep ice ridge ahead. A dangerous drop, half hidden by drifting snow. If they timed it right. Lyra, when I say jump, jump. She didn't understand, but nodded anyway. The sentinel closed the distance, its red eye locking on them like a targeting laser. Marcus sprinted to the edge of the ridge. The snow beneath his boots cracked. Jump! He yanked Lyra with him. They fell, sliding down a long, steep ice slope. Snow exploded around them. Marcus used his arm to guide their fall, wincing as sharp ice tore at his coat. Above them, the sentinel reached the ridge too late and plunged one of its legs into thin ice. The surface shattered. It struggled, sinking waist deep into the snow. Its red eye flickered angrily as it clawed upward. Marcus and Lyra crashed at the bottom of the slope, rolling until they stopped near a cluster of icy rocks. Lyra groaned softly. Humans, you always choose the most dangerous option. Marcus smiled breathlessly. And it usually works. But their victory was short. A deep hum rolled through the storm. Then another. And another. Lyra's face paled. More sentinels, 3 units, maybe 4. Marcus helped her stand. Can we reach the bunker before they do? Lyra pointed at a faint dark outline in the white distance. There. Half a mile. Maybe less. But the ice fields between here and there are unstable. Marcus tightened his backpack straps. Then we move fast, and don't stop. Thunder rumbled through the storm. Red lights appeared in the snow behind them. The sentinels were regrouping. Lyra took Marcus's hand again, but this time, not only for balance. Thank you, she whispered. No other species has ever risked so much for one of mine. Marcus looked into the storm, jaw clenched. Tonight, he said, we show them why humans survive everything. They stepped onto the unstable ice field together. And behind them, the machines began the hunt. The ice field ahead was not a flat plain. It was a maze of cracks, frozen ridges, and hidden pits. Each step felt like walking on glass that could break at any moment. Marcus tested every patch of ice with his boot before trusting his weight. Lyra followed weakly, her breath forming glowing mist in the freezing air. Behind them, the sentinels advanced, red eyes cutting through the storm like burning embers. Their metal legs stabbed into the snow with frightening precision. They moved slowly, but without hesitation. Machines did not rush. Machines did not fear. Machines simply finished their task. A deep boom echoed across the ice. A warning. The sentinels had begun spreading out, forming a half-circle closing in around Marcus and Lyra. We're losing ground, Marcus said, forcing his tired lungs to keep going. Lyra pointed ahead. We must reach the ice bridge. It is the only path to the bunker. The ice below is too thin everywhere else. Marcus squinted through the snow. A narrow bridge of thick, dark blue ice stretched across a deep canyon. The wind roared through the gap, carrying the sound of ice cracking far below. I don't like bridges, Marcus muttered. You won't like the sentinels more, Lyra whispered. They reached the start of the bridge. It stretched at least 100 meters, long and narrow, with jagged ice spikes sticking up like broken teeth. Every step would be dangerous. Lyra stepped onto the bridge, and her legs buckled. Marcus rushed to catch her. Hey, stay with me. I'm weakening, she whispered. My body wasn't meant for this cold. Marcus tightened his grip around her waist. Then I'll carry you. Lyra shook her head. You cannot. The bridge may not support the weight. But Marcus ignored her. He lifted her into his arms. She was feather-light, colder than ice, and trembling like a fading flame. You humans, she whispered. You keep choosing the impossible. We call it being stubborn, Marcus said, stepping carefully onto the bridge. Every footstep echoed with a low groan from the ice. Far below, the canyon breathed cold air up toward them. Marcus felt the bridge sway. Halfway across, a sharp metallic screech pierced the storm. Marcus froze. A sentinel climbed onto the far side of the bridge. Its red eye glowed brighter than before. The machine crouched low, adjusting its weight. The bridge shook under its movements. Oh great, Marcus said. It followed us. Another screech cut through the wind. Another sentinel climbed onto the bridge behind them. Marcus's heart hammered. We're trapped. Lyra's fingers weakly gripped his shoulder. Put me down, run alone. They only want me. No, Marcus said sharply. That's not happening. Then something changed. Lyra's chest glowed faintly, soft pulses of blue light escaping through her skin. Her body temperature rose slightly. Marcus noticed. Lyra, what's happening? My energy returning, she whispered. The storm, its radiation helps my cells. But I need 1 minute more. 1 minute before I can help us escape. Marcus exhaled shakily. I can give you 1 minute. He set her down gently behind an ice spike, blocking her from the sentinel's direct line of sight. The sentinel in front charged. The bridge thundered under its weight. Marcus grabbed a fallen ice shard. Sharp, heavy, shaped like a spear. He had nothing else. No gun. No weapon. Just frozen glass and determination. He stepped forward, legs shaking but spine straight. Machines did not expect humans to stand. That was humanity's advantage. The sentinel lunged. Marcus dodged to the side, slamming the ice spear into its joint. The shard shattered, but the sentinel slipped on the ice, losing balance. Its metal limb cracked through the bridge surface. A gaping hole opened. The sentinel struggled, half of its body hanging over the canyon. Marcus jumped back, barely avoiding its collapsing limb. Behind them, the second sentinel sped forward. Marcus glanced at Lyra. She was glowing brighter now, eyes closed, breath steadying. Almost, she whispered. Marcus turned back to the front sentinel, now crawling desperately to regain footing. He didn't hesitate. He sprinted forward and kicked the machine's remaining stable leg with all his strength. The sentinel toppled over the edge. It fell into the canyon below, its red eye fading into darkness. But the victory lasted only seconds. The second sentinel reached Marcus. Its limbs struck the ice near his feet, sending cracks racing across the bridge. Marcus fell to one knee. Ice shattered around him. The machine stood tall above him. Then, Lyra opened her eyes, and the entire bridge filled with blue light. Blue light rushed across the ice bridge like a wave. It wasn't harsh or violent. It was warm, alive, and strangely calm, as if the glow carried a heartbeat. The sentinel paused for the first time, its red eye flickering in confusion. Machines didn't fear, but they recognized anomalies, and Lyra was an anomaly. Marcus shielded his face from the sudden brightness. Lyra, what are you doing? Lyra stepped forward slowly, her legs still weak, but her presence suddenly strong. The blue glow spread from her chest, through her arms, into her fingertips. Her eyes burned with soft radiance. This is my true nature, she said quietly. This is why they hunt my people. We carry energy that cannot be controlled, energy their creators feared. The sentinel scanned her, emitting a sharp mechanical shriek. Its limbs extended, preparing to strike. But the glow forced it to hesitate, glitching its systems. Marcus gripped a broken ice fragment, ready to jump in again, even though he knew it meant death. Lyra, stop. You'll make yourself a target. Lyra looked back at him, the blue light reflecting in her tears. I already am. Then she raised her glowing hand. The air hummed. The ice beneath them cracked from the force of her energy. The sentinel jerked backward, trying to stabilize its limbs. Its red eye dimmed, then flared bright again, fighting to continue the hunt. Lyra whispered a strange word in her own language. The blue light shot outward like a pulse. The sentinel was thrown off balance, but not destroyed. It clung to the bridge with two limbs, dragging itself forward. Its metal claws stabbed into the ice, shattering chunks with each step. It was adapting, resisting Lyra's energy. Lyra stumbled, the light around her flickering. Marcus rushed to her side. You can't fight it alone. She shook her head weakly. I am not fighting alone. You're with me. That changes everything. Marcus pulled her behind him. Then we finish it together. The bridge groaned. Cracks raced across the surface like lightning. There was no time left. Marcus spotted a massive ice pillar hanging from the cliff above the sentinel. Thick, heavy, barely holding on. He turned to Lyra. Can you push your energy up there? Just once more. Lyra followed his eyes. She understood immediately. Maybe, she whispered. But you must steady me. I cannot aim alone. Marcus grabbed her shoulders, holding her upright. I've got you. Always. For a moment, despite the storm and danger, they stood like two souls bound by survival and trust. Lyra lifted her trembling hands toward the giant ice pillar. Her blue glow returned, weak but focused. The sentinel rushed forward, sensing its window to kill. Marcus positioned himself in front of Lyra, bracing for impact. Now, Lyra, he shouted. She released a final burst of light. The ice pillar cracked, shook, then fell like a frozen hammer. It crashed directly onto the sentinel, smashing it through the bridge. Metal shrieked. Ice exploded. The machine fell into the canyon in a shower of shattered limbs. The bridge collapsed under the impact. Marcus grabbed Lyra and jumped toward the bunker side as the rest of the bridge broke apart behind them. They hit the snow hard, rolling into the powder. The entire ice path crumbled into the abyss in seconds. Silence returned. Only the storm remained. Lyra lay on the ground, her light fading again. She looked exhausted, barely awake. Marcus lifted her head gently. You did it, he whispered. Her breath trembled in the cold air. No, we did it. Humans always fight like the universe is watching. Marcus smiled tiredly. Maybe it is. He looked toward the dark structure ahead, The ancient Zerali bunker buried in the ice. Only 100 meters away. If they reached it, they might survive. If not, the remaining sentinels would finish what the others started. Marcus lifted Lyra into his arms again. She felt heavier than before, not from weight, but from responsibility. Hold on, he whispered. Part 7 is where humans turn the impossible into victory. Lyra closed her eyes and rested against him. The storm swallowed their footprints as they moved forward. And far behind them, in the blinding snow, another red eye flickered to life. Marcus staggered through the snow with Lyra in his arms. The ancient Zerali bunker stood ahead, half buried under ice, its surface cracked by centuries of storms. Faint symbols glowed along its doorway, reacting to Lyra's fading energy. Each glow pulsed like a heartbeat that was slowly dying. Just a little more, Marcus whispered, though he knew she barely heard him. He reached the entrance and kicked aside the ice crust. The bunker door slid open with a heavy metallic groan, as if waking from a long sleep. Inside was darkness. Cold. Silent. Empty. Marcus gently laid Lyra on the floor. Her glow dimmed to almost nothing. Frost formed on her hair and eyelashes. She looked more like a fading star than a living being. Lyra, stay with me, Marcus said, shaking her lightly. Her eyes opened just a crack. I'm here. Marcus worked fast. He found a power node on the wall, a round metallic socket with Zerali glyphs spiraling outward. If he could activate it, the bunker would power up. Maybe warmth. Maybe shields. Maybe help. But nothing responded to his touch. It needed her, not him. Marcus knelt beside her. Lyra, I need you to try. The bunker reacts to your energy. She smiled weakly. I have very little left. Then I'll give you mine, Marcus said. He grabbed her cold hand tightly. Stay alive. That's an order. Lyra let out a faint breath, something between a laugh and a sigh. Humans, always making commands at the edge of death. She lifted her trembling hand toward the node. A tiny, fragile stream of blue light flowed from her fingertips. It struck the metal and spread like veins across the wall. For a moment, nothing. Then, FLM. The bunker lit up. A wave of soft blue light filled the hallway. Machines hummed awake. Heating panels flickered on. The temperature rose slowly. Ancient Zerali symbols rotated on displays, responding to her presence. Lyra collapsed completely, the effort draining her. Marcus caught her head gently. Hey, stay with me. Don't you fade now. She whispered, barely audible. You saved me. When you didn't have to. You fought beside me. No human has done that before. Marcus felt his throat tighten. And I'd do it again. Before he could say more, a violent tremor shook the bunker. Dust fell from the ceiling. Marcus stood up sharply. What now? A low mechanical howl echoed through the entrance tunnel. Cold, metallic, hungry. Another sentinel. Bigger. Smarter. A commander unit. Its red eye glowed like a burning wound in the storm behind them. The machine stepped through the doorway, its metal limbs cracking the ice beneath. Lyra struggled to rise. I can't fight that one. You won't, Marcus said, stepping in front of her. He scanned the bunker quickly. His eyes landed on an old Zerali defense console with glowing switches. Maybe meant for emergencies. Maybe meant for battles exactly like this. He sprinted to it and slammed his hand on the largest symbol. The bunker shook again. A deep humming filled the room, like the sound of a giant waking up. From the ceiling, panels opened. A bright sphere of light formed above Lyra, drawing from her energy, amplifying it. Lyra gasped. Marcus, get back. But Marcus didn't move. He stood in front of her like a shield. The sentinel charged. The sphere released all at once. A pure burst of blue energy exploded outward, filling the bunker, ripping through metal, shattering ice, and engulfing the sentinel in blinding light. When the light faded, the machine was gone. Dust scattered across the floor. Marcus fell to one knee, breath shaking. His ears rang. His muscles burned. He looked back at Lyra, barely conscious, but alive. The bunker grew warm. Safe. Protected. You did it, she whispered, her voice drifting like a soft breeze. No, Marcus said, crawling to her side. We did it. Together. She reached up and touched his cheek lightly, her fingers warm again. Human courage is something my people never understood. Maybe they will now, Marcus said. Because I'm not letting you face the galaxy alone. Lyra smiled, a small, tired, beautiful smile. Outside, the storm slowly died. Inside the bunker, two survivors sat together, one human, one alien, but united by something deeper than fear. Hope, defiance, and the beginning of a new alliance. The lights dimmed softly. The screen fades to black. A message appears. Humans don't wait for a miracle. They become one. The end, or the beginning of the next chapter.